So yeah, I mean, we redesigned a lot of the scope. I mean, the optical design, the mechanical design is a lot of it. We took best practices, I think, that we were able to leverage from the Gen 2, but a lot of stuff is redesigned.
All right, what is up, everybody? Joined by a big constituent of the Vortex Brain Trust here. We've got Scott Parks to my right, no Jimmy today. We got Seth Toy and Rob Morrell. These guys, I don't want to call them eggheads. Maybe they're part of the smart kids crew at Vortex. I mean, I'm going to say it. These guys are doing some really cool stuff. And exciting today because we finally get to talk about the Razer HD Gen 3 6 to 36 by 56. That's this. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the big long bomber that you see before. Seth, is this your rifle? What rifle is that?
Yeah, it's an Impact Precision Action, Bartlett barrel, and just a bunch of other goodies.
Yeah,
inner stock.
Very nice.
Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. So, long name to this scope. Lots of features to this scope.
Yep.
But what's the why behind the scope? Why the heck did we make this just precision optical and mechanical instrument?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a lot of customers happy with the 4.5 to 27, but we also knew that, we can't get complacent with the products that we have out there, and we needed to come up with something that was going to be better and was going to improve on some of the opportunities that the 4.5 to 27 left on, out there for us. So I think that, that was it. We're always looking at products to improve in the lineup, and the Razer Gen 2 had an awesome run. We'll continue to have it, but we felt like it was time to have something out there that was a little bit better yet. So
no easy task when you're talking about the Gen 2 4.5 to 27 by 56. I mean, that thing is
I love it.
It's great.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing.
Fantastic optic.
Like, I mean, sometimes you guys make stuff and I'm like, ew. Great job, everybody. But
yeah, good luck on the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's still a great scope. But this has got a little more gas to it.
Oh yeah.
Seth, let's go through some of the features. So we kind of gone through, like I said, 6 to 36. So you got a 6X on the low end, 36 on the high end. You got a 56 millimeter objective. Some other differences in there. 34 millimeter tube. That's the same.
That's the same, yep, as the Gen 2. Overall, it's a little bit longer. It's a little bit lighter, and I think the the things that are improvements over the Gen 2 are just the overall optical quality, and then the turrets are a big improvement. And I say optical quality is a single thing, but there's really a lot of things on the optical performance that are improvements over the 4.5 to 27. So, I mean, resolution, contrast, depth of field. Are things that come to mind. I mean, what else?
Field of view.
Field of view. It's really a pleasure to get behind. You've had the pleasure of shooting it for a bit on your rifle here, as have others, internally here. And yeah, I mean, why don't you tell us about what you've liked about it?
It's a gem. I've been running on this rifle, but I've also been running it on my Voodoo, a 22.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on here for other 22 related discussions, and I haven't been able to bring that rifle in here because it's had the 636 on it for a while. But some things that make it especially good for that are it has a 10-yard parallax. So your parallax adjustment goes from 10 yards to infinity. So when shooting kind of shorter distances for these rimfire matches, you can get down there. In addition to that, you can dry fire in your own house. You can find 10 yards in your house and just put a target on the wall and have the ability to dry fire without needing like a DFAT device or some of the other things people use to dry fire at home, which is a great feature.
Yeah, get a little in-home practice in.
Yeah. The mag ring stiffness, I think, is improved, so it glides very nicely.
That's definitely something that you can tell, like, right off the bat. You're like, oh, that is super smooth.
For sure. It's a lot of the touch point details in this scope were a lot of the development effort, and I think we paid a lot of close attention to making sure that everything looked and felt really great. In addition to that, there is a ton of travel in this scope.
Mm-hmm.
The Gen 2 Razer had a great amount of travel too, but we're looking at over 36 mils of travel.
Mm-hmm.
And In addition to that, the Gen 3...
120 MOA for you MOA folks out there.
Sorry for you MOA folks.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of travel, and
Just
I think
kidding.
I think the other thing that's a big improvement is you really get the entire range of travel on the MRAD version, and almost the entire range of travel on the MOA version, regardless of where you zero in the travel range. And really, it's only if you were to zero at the very, very end of the range on the MOA version, you wouldn't get the full amount of travel.
4 rotations.
4 rotations now that this LTAC Plus turret has over the previous just LTAC turret. So that was no small feat, by the way.
Well, I was going to say, that kind of sounds like magic. Because I'm like, it doesn't really, like, thinking with what I know about how these things work, which is a lot less than you guys, but it just, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you do that.
And a lot of limits, we're kind of pushing the envelope on manufacturing capability and trying to fit a huge amount of features into a package this size. Took some significant development effort.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, you mentioned earlier, we didn't increase the diameter of the main tube at all. So it's still a 34 millimeter main tube, and we were able to get an extra
3 mils of
elevation. So,
and you've gone up in magnification
exactly.
too.
Right. Yep. So that's kind of a big thing to hit on, right? That shows the advancements in optic technology over the past 10 years. It's been crazy. With the industry being what it's been over the last 10 years, which has been nothing short of amazing. It has really driven technology. If you would have told me 10 years ago that we're developing a scope with a 24-degree apparent field of view, 36 magnification, and it's also going to have 36 mils of elevation and not vignette at the edge of that elevation, I wouldn't have believed you for a second.
Yep. Right.
And yet here we are. It sits right in front of us right now.
Correct.
It really is truly phenomenal. I'm gonna grab. This is gonna be like, if you're watching on YouTube, this is gonna be like an unboxing video. I'll get this if I can figure out. The packaging team is just there you go, Scott. I had a bad angle. You do it. I don't know why I'm trying to do it. You do it. It's in front of you. But maybe hold that up a little bit so people can see that new LTEC Plus turret, because a lot of cool stuff there, a lot of differences there, and a lot of engineering in that bad boy. And Seth, to my understanding, you played a large role in that, correct?
Yeah, Scott and I, the whole team, but Scott and I think put a lot of work into making sure that we had the features that the customer really loved about the Gen 2 Razor turrets, and maintaining those while also kind of making some of those crowd pleasers on top of that. So one of the big things about the Gen 2 Razor was that you only had 3 revolutions of travel, and you had that tactile and visible revolution indicator that pops out the side so you know what rev you're on. In addition to the zero stop, it's great to know what rev you're on from that rev indicator.
And when are guys using that rev indicator? Is that is it low light conditions, things like that, or it's just like a visual check, it's a quick reference?
Yeah, and anytime you're dialing, in this case, above 10 mils, it's just kind of nice to know what rev you're on. And then the tactile is really helpful for if you are in the dark or just in a place where you can't.
It's really,
can't see the
and
line.
it's also kind of a safety feature.
For sure.
Because if you're a rev off 10 mils, so 10 mils, and you're shooting at, 1,000 yards.
Yeah, your shot's not going where you're thinking.
You're going way over the berm. You have no idea where that bullet's going.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. No.
Some would say undesirable.
Could be argued. Yeah.
So the rotation indicator is important. I don't think we've mentioned yet, it still does have the locking turrets. Maybe we did mention that.
No, we didn't.
No.
Nope. Pop up and down locking turret. The top looks awfully different.
The top is different. We got rid of the cap. So there's no need for a cap any longer. And we only have one screw on the turrets. It's no longer a set screw, though, which we can get into. I don't know how deep we want to get into that, but
I think you would, because on the surface it does look like a set screw. Like, it almost looks in some ways similar to the Gen 2, but just one, But so I don't know how much you guys can reveal as far as how much it's operating or how it's operating, but
I think we can do a basic
description.
So what it is, it's actually a clamp now.
Like a locking collar.
It's like a locking collar. You know, I forget how Seth and I came to that one day. But
there are so many iterations that we went through. It's like, I mean, just the floor down there is just littered with crumpled paper, literally and figuratively, of ideas that we had come up with to figure out how to do this with one set. So
a few of them almost look like they have tears on them.
Yeah. Well, it was a rough year, you know.
We wore out an entire dry erase board. Just
straight through.
Yeah, straight through.
Yeah.
I believe, you know, and real quick, I'm totally interrupting Scott, but, you know, you talked about, like, iterations after, like, how long has this product been in development for?
I have been working on this since the second week that I started.
Yeah.
3.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so cool and so important to point out because, like, these are big projects. Like big projects, multi-year projects.
Yeah, I mean, we could have come out with it sooner, but it wouldn't be what we have in front of us here today. Right. I mean, I think we went through, safe to say, over probably 10 turret design iterations. I think, what do we do, 3 different optical designs on this before we landed on where we're at right now. So it's like, you know, we think we got it, and then we get a prototype together, and we're like, that's not it. Just do it again, you know. And I think that's something that we've really put a lot of deliberate effort into and really making sure that we're very, very happy with where we end up as a final state for the product. So, but yeah, back to the turret, Scott, sorry.
Yeah, no, so it's so we got I don't know if it's going to be able to see in the camera, but you can see the screw is actually offset. So there's a clamping mechanism in here, and that screw is basically just tightening it up along the turrets, the actual turret screw itself. So what that allows for is, one, you're never going to get set screw divots, which I'm sure many of you guys are used to getting. It also has, like I mentioned, a huge amount of bearing surface in there. So this screw literally just needs to be snug, like 2 to 4 inch-pounds.
Yeah.
4 inch-pounds probably max.
Doesn't need a lot.
Doesn't need a lot. And as you're zeroing, the screw is facing you, and it's only one screw, so you don't have to fiddle around trying to find the screw holes of the other set screws. You know, so
it's always stays retained too, right?
Yes, you cannot screw it out.
And
can't screw it out, can't screw it up.
Hey, there you go. It should be in marketing.
It's almost like
there's somebody out there that can screw it up.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But so, and because of all this, and like you said, you don't have, I guess, the cap, you know, necessarily on top. Let's talk a little bit about how you set the zero stop and also how you know, adjust or sight it in, get your zero.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same as the Gen 2. So you just leave the turret on 0, loosen your set screw. You don't have to take the cap off any longer, and now the zeroing mechanism is finger adjustable instead of having to use that flathead screwdriver or what.
Yep.
You know, and once you get zeroed, you still got the infinite adjustability, so there's no clicks when you're zeroing.
But that allows you to get in between 10th mil adjustments, so you could have a perfectly precise zero.
Yep,
exactly.
Which is the beauty of that locking collar, and so many people love that on the Gen 2 Razor that was a must keep for the Gen 3s, and so having that locking collar eliminates the removable caps that people would lose all the time. How many thousands of replacement caps do we send? It's so easy to just set them down and forget about it, or have them blow away in the wind or whatever. So that's not a problem anymore. It's also better sealed to the environment now, which is really nice. If you're zeroing in the rain, you're not taking your cap off, which is nice. Not that was much of a problem in the past, but you never know.
Yeah. Never good to have water pooled up inside.
Yeah, right.
Though, so.
Yeah, right.
Now, I know we kind of glossed over this, and I'm going to spend about as much time on it as often as it gets used. The Illumination is still here, and it's locking still. Pretty much the same setup as the Gen 2.
Yep.
Now, the Illumination, the reticle illumination itself is special. Yeah. So before, the Gen 2s were we illuminated the full tree.
Right. But
on the 636 here, we're illuminating just the vertical and horizontal main stadia. And I found that on 6X, to use this for like hunting purposes, when you kind of want to dial the magnification back to get that nice wide field of view, it's been really nice in low light conditions to bump that illumination on, and you get that contrast with your environment, but it's not your whole tree anymore.
Yep.
It's just a really nice vertical and horizontal stadia that gives you a really good aiming point, even at low
Yeah.
magnification.
Same thing on the 4.5 to 22 LHT.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
We've gotten really good feedback on just illuminating that crossplex versus the whole tree.
For sure. I mean, I'm like in love with that design on the LHT, and obviously, it kind of shares that same design feature here. But a first focal plane scope, like now I'm talking about the LHT, which is one of my favorite scopes. But it's a 4.5 to 22 first focal plane, right? And like you said, you get down on the low end, that reticle does appear to shrink, right?
Yep.
And having that illumination just brings it into sharp view, so you can use it, at those, closer to intermediate ranges, or make a quick shot in the timber if you have to, or something like that. It's really the only time I've used illumination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like I just haven't had a need for it before, but now I'm like, I love the scope. I love that first focal plane. I love this. I love that. But on the, I think a person might encounter a similar scenario with this guy here. So yeah, I like that a lot. Within that reticle, it's the new EBR7D, right? So EBR7D, first focal plane, like we talked about a little bit before. What would be if a person? I think you'd have to be familiar with the EBR7C to maybe. Be like, I know what those guys are talking about with the differences, I guess. But what are some of the differences there?
Scott, you want to take that away?
Yeah, so we got feedback on the 7C that the heavier bars on the windage line were kind of coming down too far into the holdover area. So we shortened those up. Those are the full mill stadia marks. And I think that was the major thing besides the illumination.
Okay.
Yeah, because the 7C still had 2/10 on the vertical and horizontal, right?
Oh yeah.
Or is that?
I don't know. It only had So we added 2/10 on the vertical, and that's the other difference.
Gotcha.
Okay.
For the drop.
Yep.
It's like not in the grand scale of things, like not giant monumental changes, but like just important subtle changes that are going to improve that user experience.
It's not radically different, just refinements over the 7C versus based on feedback that we got.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament that you guys are on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Like back to the drawing board.
And I think probably one of the most important things that people want to hear about, even though they know we're going to be a little biased on this, is the overall optical quality. I can tell you this scope is a true alpha scope. Like, it's competing with everything out there right now. Since we have the 1 to 10, and that's I don't know which one I would pick as the most impressive optical design, because 1 power variables are really tricky, and I'd probably still give it to the 1 to 10, but this one's not far behind as the best optical designs we've done.
To hear Scott say, Scott, you are the pickiest person I know. I say that with love. I think it's an important quality of yours. It can be an annoying quality of yours, but it's very important, and I think we don't appreciate it at times as much as we should. So just hearing you say that, and I know Scott, you kind of said like, yeah, we sit in our Vortex chair here, right? But I know you would not say that unless you truly believed it. So you can, I think listeners out there, you can take that to heart.
I think most people that know me would believe what I just said.
Yeah, he's not kidding though. I think that the earlier iterations of the optical designs that we went through, if we had released them, probably would have been fine. But in part due to the pickiness of Scott, we really pushed the envelope and made something that made even the pickiest man happy as a kid in a candy shop. Yeah. So I'm really proud of what we've done on this one as a complete package. So
it's really impressive. I mean, like, one of my examples, I can say that just made me fall in love with this thing was, shooting in our 22 league. Yeah. And messing around with 22s, and the fact that, we'll shoot in our 100-yard indoor range here at Vortex, and I couldn't believe that I could actually use the parallax knob as a BDC dial, not as a rangefinder.
Right. Yeah.
Like, the focus comes in so sharp that that's where it's focused. You look at the parallax knob, and it's sitting right on the distance that target's at. Mm-hmm. I've never had that happen to me in my life. So, and you know, that's kind of an internal joke with the whole BDC parallax knob thing. So,
Okay.
Well, and the other thing too, I think that's excellent on this optical design is the depth of field at the longer distances.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's been really cool, I haven't seen it firsthand, but I've heard, you know, enough people say it that I got to think it's true, is just the improved ability to spot trace when people are shooting at matches or just at longer distances. That's something that's really a nice advantage with this scope that you would see. I think you'd be able to have that happen occasionally, maybe with the 4.5 to 27, but it's a lot more prevalent with this one because of the optical design. So it's a longer objective focal length, so it's a little bit slower of an optical design compared to the 4.5 to 27, and so I think that helps to aid in that a little bit. So
and a little bit, and the wider field of view helps too with that for sure.
Yeah.
When you say slower optical design, what do you mean by that?
Just means that the light rays don't have to bend as sharply to as it enters into the scope to go to the first focal plane and then the rest of the optical design in the scope. So that's what I mean. The light is bent more gently. So it's kind of
Still going the same speed. Fast and slow is like a optics.
Yeah. We're not changing the laws of physics here and adjusting the speed of light as it goes through the scope.
Yet.
Yeah, that's probably a few years out. Maybe another 10, let's say.
Yep.
So
I can tell you the 1 to 10 is pretty close to changing the laws of physics.
What
It's a rule breaker.
So you've been using it on like some indoor stuff. Have you guys been sending it long range with this thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, when was the first time we used these?
It's been a while ago.
Well, in like at least pre-production form of this optical design.
yeah, it was
It's about a year ago.
about
At
a
least
year
a
ago.
year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least a year.
Yeah, and then we had to go through some more subtle refinements, but the base optical design was kind of nailed down about then. So we've got a decent amount of range time in on this. So
With the, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and again, like, so to my, just because I do find this part impressive. So to my understanding, generally, kind of like all things being equal, as you go up in magnification, you generally get less travel. Yes.
That's generally the rule of thumb. Yes.
Okay. So you did defy the laws of physics with this one.
We just
the
went
rules of
we
engineering.
bent them and then came back to it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's. I mean,
We tricked them.
like.
Yes.
Well, so we had to change other things in the scope to allow us to do that.
Things that shall not be named.
Well, it just, I mean, if you just the internal mechanics, and the optical design. I mean, all those things. The optomechanical design is something that's intimately connected, right? And so you have to have both those things taken into consideration as you're doing the product design. Otherwise, you're going to have things happen like you're going to have the image vignette, or you're going to have, just really poor optical quality, and really great travel or something, as an example. So
You can't just add better glass.
no, you can't just sprinkle ED dust on it and then get plus 50 to light transmission. It unfortunately does not work that way. So yeah, I mean, we redesigned a lot of the scope. I mean, the optical design, the mechanical design is a lot of it. We took best practices, I think, that we were able to leverage from the Gen 2, but a lot of stuff is redesigned. I mean, there are elements of these turrets that were taken from things that we knew worked well in the Gen 2, but a lot of what was there with the Gen 2 turrets the LTEC turrets had to be kind of thrown out and redesigned for the LTEC Plus. Same thing with the optical design, same thing with the other internal mechanical components. So,
Wow, that's so cool, man. Who do you guys see? Like, who is this scope for?
I mean, it's definitely designed around like PRS competition or military use, sniper use.
Gotcha.
For sure. But I can tell you by how many 4.5/27s we sold, and knowing how much we've sold to the military and how many competition shooters are out there, there's obviously other people buying them also.
Right.
Yep.
So I think people just appreciate having a good piece of glass in their rifle, and it's really just for everybody. Everybody that wants it.
Everybody likes a good piece of glass, Scott.
It's a long-range rifle scope. I don't think you're going to see 3 gunners running around with this thing.
right.
But if you're interested in shooting long range or shooting close range with 22s at really small targets. I think this will be a big hit with the NRL22 community for sure, especially the people in NRL22X who are pushing the limits. If you have a canted base and you're able to leverage the 36 mils of elevation, that'll get you out to 500 plus yards with a 22, which is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's for those people too.
I mean,
shout out to my community, I guess.
to Seth's peeps out there.
Yeah. Oh, and ELR. This will be a huge ELR scope.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the amount of travel it has, it'll definitely, and the optical quality field of view. I mean, yeah.
I mean, for most people, does that much travel alleviate the need for a canted rail?
For most people, yes. However, the optical design is such that you're not going to hurt anything by at least using a 20 MOA base.
Okay.
And just gain that bore height back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and have just a little more travel just in case. You know, that's the other thing. The other big improvement with the 636 over the 4.5/27 is with the and the 4.5/27 was no slouch in this area, but you could notice a little bit of fall off in optical quality if you were at the very extremes of the adjustment range, whereas you don't see it in this. So, you know, so for the ELR stuff and 22 stuff, it really shines.
I mean, we've talked about it a million times. You know, long range 1001, 1002. You know, we've done tons of long range stuff. We've done the long range 22 with you stuff, Seth, before, but it just seems like it is just continues to grow in popularity as technologies evolve,
as ammo gets more expensive.
As ammo gets more expensive.
All these match directors keep making smaller targets further away, Scott. What are we supposed to do besides have more expensive ammo and rifles and optics that can do those things,
but with 22 growing, you know, I mean, with center fire ammo being what it is and hard to get, you know. Yeah. I mean, 22 is not necessarily easy to get, but it seems to be a little easier.
But I mean, just
you know where to look.
Just
if you know where to look.
But across like all genres, like people just, you know, they want to test their limits and extend their effective range and perfect their craft, and it's just cool all the new stuff like this scope that keeps coming out. You know, like the Fury HD 5000 AB. You know, you got ballistics in a range-finding binocular. Like, there's all the stuff really is working together in a way that is, man, I wouldn't have pictured it.
Talk about a match made in heaven.
15 years
Fury
ago.
ABs and a 636. There's a lot of targets you could smack with with that combination.
Yep. Person do some serious work. What are you guys most excited about with this scope? Finally releasing it?
Yeah.
It's been honestly, I'm excited to go shoot some matches in public again.
Yeah.
I've been kind of having to like hold back because I don't want to change my rifles back because I don't want to give the scope up, but I also can't show it to everybody.
Right.
So I'm gonna go shoot a whole bunch of 22 matches with people outside this building.
Yeah.
So I'm amped for that. But.
Yeah. I'm happy that we've. I'm most excited that we're able to have something out in the public that's going to be. Really, like Scott mentioned, punching blow for blow with the other alpha class scopes that are out there. The 4.5/22 is no slouch of a scope.
27.
It's 4.5/27. Excuse me, 4.5/27.
I know.
Yeah, I brought it up originally, so it's my fault. 4.5/27 Gen 2 is an awesome scope, but it's it's an optical design that's what 8
we
years
started
old.
working on those in 2011. So
okay.
Yeah.
So 10 years old-ish, give or take.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, the competitors aren't doing nothing, right? So it's still a good optical design today, but this is, you know, I'd say head and shoulders above of where that 4.5/27 is. And so I think we're, you know, squarely back at the, top of the heap with the other guys that are out there. So
very cool.
Yeah, and field of view wise, there may be only one, maybe two companies that are matching the field of view on this scope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's only one or two companies that have the similar travel with similar magnification.
Mm-hmm.
But then the eye box is so forgiving too.
Yeah.
And like the heads-up display feel, that you kind of get looking through the eyepiece, like
turrets,
it's
10-yard parallax.
Man, as a complete package, there are just so many things. I mean, 6 to 36x magnification.
Mm-hmm.
I can see bullet holes in my bullet holes.
Yeah.
Well,
and I guess there's kind of one other thing that we didn't touch on that I'm sure some people are wondering about is, what's it like to look through this scope? What's the presentation I get? And if you've used a Razor 1-6 or a Razor 1-10, I can tell you it's a very similar experience. You look through and all you see is image. The scope just disappears. I honestly don't know that I can find anything I don't like about this scope right now.
Unbelievable. We've done it, everybody.
I don't know if you want me to date stamp it right now, but
you are recording, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe my ears, Scott, honestly. No, that's cool, man. And I think we talked a lot about the turret and how it operates, but the ease of which, getting your zero and set. I mean, like,
you really don't have to get out from behind the rifle, much at all. There's a reference mark on the top of the turret here for your zero dial. So it's all pretty straightforward, and we really kind of simplified the LTEC experience and turned it into the LTEC Plus experience, I guess.
Yeah.
How apropos. And and everything's captive, so you don't have to really worry about losing anything. So.
Yeah, and this is, like you said, the Gen 2 is still going to be in the line. Still phenomenal optic. Like I said, even when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, man, can you get better than this? Like, I love that thing, right? This is, the Gen 3 636, and it does carry, like, a higher price tag, too. So, like, I don't want to diminish the quality and what you get with the Gen 2 right now because you got to have the Gen 3 because it's like, well, no, but it does cost more too. So,
yeah.
Right.
Though it does cost more as you're looking at this compared to the rest of the competitive landscape, I think we've still done a pretty good job at providing good value to the customer. So yes, it's still more expensive than the 4.5 to 27, but it's going to be less expensive than other scopes at the alpha class that are out there right now, and perform, I would say, comparably. So
I'm trying to think what's street price on this thing going to be?
$29.99.
$29.99.
Yeah.
Like, give or take.
Yeah, and with obviously something that went into that price also was everything's more expensive right now. So all this aluminum, the glass, everything on here is more expensive now as the everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah, the whole supply chain, situation and global supply chains had an impact on things, which has been a real treat to deal with.
But we got it done.
We got it done. But
against all odds.
But I think you guys, have also worked hard to not make the customer absorb all that cost as well. So which I think is cool. So
we definitely had a price point we wanted to stay at, or or stay below for sure. But yeah, and they will, as far as I know, dealers are stocked up with them, and they're ready to be bought.
Man, just like you alluded to or talked about earlier, Scott, just the popularity of the Gen 2s. Like I would expect the same thing with this guy.
Please direct any back order questions to Scott Parks.
I can answer that right now because I already saw the back order report.
But did we miss anything with this?
That's probably one of the smallest, most subtle, but important to me features.
Oh, please.
On the eyepiece. It's a fast focus eyepiece, so it's really rapidly adjustable, so you can set the diopter to your eye. But sometimes that'll get bumped in a match or whatever. And it's nice to, never before have we had a reference mark on there. So when you set the diopter to your eye, there's some reference lines that you might be able to see in there, so you can tell exactly where you've set your diopter, so you can tell that it's been adjusted. And so if I hand the rifle to Scott, he's going to set the diopter for his eye, and now I know that I just need to go back to 5 hashes and set the diopter right back for me, and that's easy. A lot of people will run like a piece of tape up over this on the Gen 2s so it doesn't get bumped or whatever, but now we have a real quick reference so that you don't you can tell if it's been bumped at all. So it's a very little feature, but it's in there, and I like it.
It's one of those small details, though, that, again, it just, like, adds to that user, you know, now you don't have to do other things or, you know, be like, well, where was that? Or, you know, you can just look and see.
There it is. And I think we keep kind of talking about
the most and cool thing.
Oh, that is also super cool.
Okay, hold that up, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you got there? It comes in the box. This is part of the unboxing video that we started.
This is the tool that comes with it, and we actually put a metal insert in here for the illumination knob and for zeroing if you wanted to use it to zero, if you don't want to use your fingers. But I have yet to break one of these, so I love these things.
There you go. Another first.
I was going to say, once again, we've done it, everybody.
Yeah, so single tool for adjusting your zero screw, and then you can use the flat on that for the illumination cap, and then also for your dials, your zero dials if you want to. So
It's
just
also
a
a
single
fun
tool for everything there.
Hat, shark fin.
Yeah. And switch view comes with it.
Yep.
Yes.
Switch. Yeah, and we're including
Sunshade.
a switch view in the box now.
Yep.
So.
And sunshade, of course.
All right.
And a battery and a lens cloth.
Yep.
All the standard goodies.
But yeah, it is pretty amazing how quickly you can zero this optic from behind the rifle. The LTEX system is great, and I think a lot of the features that it allowed were excellent. I think the infinite adjustability is awesome. The locking and zero stop and the rev indicator are all great features that we've come to know and love. But adjusting those 3 set screws when they're facing off to the sides and there's one on the other side, especially in the windage, not having to get behind that right next to your scope rings and down in your action and everything else, to have the single set screw, just be able to get behind the gun, leave the turret at 0, take a shot, loosen the set screw, make your adjustment, tighten the set screw, and you're done. And you do all of that from behind the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's amazing.
And I remember that was actually a great call out that Scott had on this. One of the many was, I think, in one of the close to the last iteration of the turret design, we had the single set screw. That was something that we were working on kind of from the onset as a design goal. But I think it ended up being maybe at the top or somewhere where it wasn't maybe quite in an ideal position. And Scott's like, hey, what if we did these things? You know, what would it take for us to move this so that we can get to it without, you know, really having to move from behind the rifle? And like, hey, that's a really great call out, which we were able to do because I think we went through so many iterations of this thing. And had looked at it so many times. It was kind of cool. We got the core of it really dialed in. You know, like we'd been talking about, we were in this kind of final design phase for quite a while we were doing a lot of internal testing. So that was one of the things that kind of came out of that, along with some other mechanical refinements that we were able to make to get to the product that we have in front of us today. So
well, and some of those finer things, well, it's like kind of like a fine thing, but kind of like a major thing at the same time. It's like, can we put the door over here? But those are the things that you find when you really start using it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you're like, it's actually perfect, but it just needs to be here instead of, you know, so that
once you've lived in the house for a bit.
Yeah, man, I really wish
know
that
it
toilet
needs-
paper holder wasn't banging into my knee.
Yeah.
But man, it's cool. I mean, great work, guys. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, I've been behind it, you know, a little bit, not as much as you guys, but just, you know, setting the turret and everything is just, I mean, it really is a masterpiece. So good job.
Yeah. Well, it's thank you, but it's definitely not just us 3.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No,
Right.
I mean, we have a team
no.
of over 20 engineers, I think over 20 now, that, you know, contribute in all ways. So it's,
You guys were just the 3 willing to come on the podcast. So
Yes.
thank you for that as well. But hopefully you guys, when I say that, I mean, I do actually say it like, I think we oftentimes, all of us think very collectively,
Yeah.
you know, of the entire Vortex team here. It's cool stuff, man. And I think, you know, just the highlights, the optical system, the turret, the everything about it is just, it's top notch. And for a person, I think too, it's like almost like seeing is believing. Like, if you're into this, get yourself in front of one, look through it in real world conditions, you know, run it a little bit, and I think you'll hopefully be as impressed as we are.
Yeah, I mean, going back to your question, you know, what are you most excited about? Well, I'm hopefully going to be most excited about the feedback we get.
Yeah.
To be
Darn
honest
right.
with you, that we've provided the value that we've set out to provide our customer. You know, I really think we've done that. We'll see how it goes, but
Yeah, we always like getting feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. It helps us make better products. So.
I only ask for good feedback.
Oh, really?
Well, but for as good as the Gen 2 was, right? Like, hey, it would be kind of nice if I didn't accidentally lose my cap, even though you guys took care of me by sending me a new one for free because Vortex is rad.
Yep.
Like, okay, well, we could design this new system to be totally captive, and now you don't lose any caps anymore. So just a mild inconvenience, even though it was slight negative feedback, was good to hear, because then we could design it out of the next generation, and then you have a whole generation of people who's never even going to know that was a problem. So,
As is the way of things.
It is.
And at the same time, make it finger adjustable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
now you have one tool.
We should like see if we can do like a chronology of all of the design iterations that we had, and that would be a fun thing to like
I don't
have,
know
have
that
a beer or a cocktail and like reminisce over.
I see Seth over. I don't know if he wants to relive that.
Yeah,
We could do
maybe
an
block
archaeological.
those things out now. I don't know.
We could do an archaeological dig at my desk, and
Yeah.
the excavation, I think, would reveal a long history of turret iterations.
It'd be a lot easier to find on your desk than mine. That's for sure. So.
But,
I'm going to stay out of the desk comments.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, I think we covered it. I mean, like I said before, seeing is believing. You know, don't take it from us.
Yeah.
Well, take all the information we said, because I consider it to be true and accurate. But go and see for yourself. Go check one of these things out. If you're into long range precision, anything, I think it'll suit your needs.
I think so. We're going to have a lot of happy customers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Scott,
I like to.
concurs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to count my eggs or chickens or however that goes, but I think we're in a good spot for sure.
Cool, man. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you have any more questions about the Razer HD Gen 3 6-36 by 56, let us know in the comments. Give us a shout on any of our social platforms. Give us a call here at Vortex if you have any additional questions. Send all back order inquiries to Scott, apparently. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.